and to join us after the show. And please also remember, we would love for you to become a contributor. That's sidebartv.com. Well, as you can tell, I'm not in the studio today, but this week we will talk about things that have been going on, including the Democrats and their gerrymandering. Did they love it, and then all of a sudden, did they hate it? We're also going to be talking about how the mRNA vaccine program may be gone. And if we can, touch on the truth about the order for a new national census, and then also the truth about these tariff rebates that you might have been hearing about. Every week, you can come here to hear the former Bexar County DA, Nico LaHood, trial lawyer, managing partner of LaHood Norton Law Group, and George Arujo, scholar, former chemist, pharmaceutical researcher, and director. And before we start, I wanted to thank you guys so much for letting me go out of town to see the second twin graduating.
You didn't need our permission, Karen. What are you? You're the hell are you talking about?
Well, I'm being stingy because I wanted to be there and I wanted to be here, but you know what? I felt like it's so much to be proud of for my daughters, but I kind of am giving myself a big gold star too.
Well, you know, and I used to tell people when I was in office and also at our firm now, as family first. I mean, for me, it's Christ first, but I mean, you know, family comes before for business. And so this is an awesome accomplishment for your daughter. So congratulations to her and to you and to your family.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you called in. But the only problem we didn't think about, you know, we have a special guest this morning, Karen. We have Mark LaHood in the studio, my brother Mark in the studio. The problem is he can't hear you because he doesn't have headsets. So we're going to have to kind of...
I can talk about it.
Now you can talk about him and he won't hear it until later when he watches the show. But so he can't hear you, so we may have to cue him up for when you want to ask him a question, what we're going to do. But I know we're going to talk about gerrymandering. I mean, who better to talk about it than Mark? I mean, he's in the legislature. He's in District 121. He's doing a great job up there. I'm biased, but I think I'm objective because I'll criticize when it's appropriate. But we'll let him talk about that. I know he has a very specific opinion about it. I'll tell you, for me, Karen, when I researched this, I mean, this actually came from a public servant. Wasn't it Gary or Jerry or what his name was?
Albert's Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry. And so this was back in it goes back to 1812. And when they looked at this is before, you know, Republicans and Democrats didn't establish themselves until 1820s and 1850s. Oh, Salo's getting him some earpieces, Karen, so he'll be able to hear all your criticism.
Okay.
But so 1820s and 1850s. I mean, so that's when the political parties came. So this goes before that. This is part of our system. So the idea that the narrative, because I really wanted to think about this, because I'm not a historian like George over here, and Mark's in it, so Mark, I'm sure, is super familiar with this. I wasn't. I think if you ask the normal people, what's gerrymandering, they're like, I don't know what the hell it is. I mean, so
I am so glad that you say that, because I didn't know myself. I mean, I knew what it is, but I didn't know the origins of it, and I was too embarrassed to bring it up.
I mean,
and ask.
When you looked at the map, when Jerry was doing this back in 1812, it looked like a salamander. And so they said, well, gerrymandering. I mean, I like the history of how things, it's an odd thing, but it's part of our system. But before our political parties. So the idea that Republicans are doing something odd now is disingenuous to me. When you say we need to save our democracy, I think that's weird to say that as you run away from the system that we have set up. And as like Obama said, elections have consequences. So we have to just deal with the system. If we don't like this system, then change it. Change all that stuff. Now, when do you do redistricting? You typically, but it's not legal, and Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, after the 10-year census. Now, there's an argument that the 10-year census in 2020 wasn't very accurate. You had COVID, you had a lot of things going on, and it didn't really take into account the kind of the new maps and the new people's feelings and voting preferences in Texas. And then you have, of course, this influx of what is it, Mark, 1.7 million new people, something around there? Talking to the mic. You have to. Is it on? Is his mic on, Salo? Can you hear him, Karen? Did you hear Mark?
No, I can't hear him at all.
Test again, Mark.
Hello?
Yeah, he got it. I can hear him now.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We got it, Kurt. Thank you. So it's like 1.7 million.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a massive population change.
Right, because of people leaving California, people leaving all these other New York.
They're coming to Texas for success and freedom. And so, I mean, like, not a legal argument, but it's kind of the same analogy like family law. When there's a substantial change of circumstances, I mean, it needs to be reevaluated.
Right. And so so the argument is that there's been a substantial change in circumstances, right? I mean, but there's nothing illegal about it is what I'm saying. I mean, I'm looking at this, we got to save democracy. That gives the impression, because I'm really trying to be objective here, that there's something being done inappropriate, illegal, unethical, and none of those things apply. Nothing's illegal about this.
Well, if it was illegal, then I guess then California and the other states that are talking about, well, we're going to do our own redistricting in response to it. I think that argument in of itself says that it's not illegal. The fact is that I forget the number. I think it's 5 or 6 Democratic states have gerrymandered the heck out of their states. Have you seen the Illinois map?
Well, I was going to say that. Illinois, Massachusetts, California, New York.
Is it New Hampshire, Connecticut? But moral of the story is, a lot of states have been doing it for years. No one complained when it benefited them. That's just the reality of it. If you have a tool under the law, you can't complain when someone does use the tools. If someone chose not to use it earlier, or the circumstances weren't there to use it, it's not the same thing.
Well, and George and Karen, I always say this: be careful the world you help create, because someday you may have to live in it. So now we have this situation. California, I believe Republicans, or Trump, got 40% of the vote, right? 40% vote Republican, but they only have 17 seats, 17% of the seats. So 40% of California votes Republican, but they only have 17% of representation. Talk about constitutional republic, right? Massachusetts, 35% vote Republican. They have 0 seats in Massachusetts. And Illinois, at last data that I saw, and if I'm wrong, someone correct me, they have over 45% or 45, roughly around 45% vote Republican, but they have only 17% of the seats again. So obviously these Democrat-led states have utilized, as Mark's point, gerrymandering very effectively. And so just because it's not after, the argument I heard is that it hasn't been 10 years yet. That's not a legal standard.
Well, it's kind of the same argument with the people breaking quorum right now, and everyone's up in arms because Governor Abbott and Ken Paxton, the Speaker of the House, are taking a stance to put an end to it. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I've never read this, but my logic on it, when you think it through, if the quorum was designed back in the day when days or weeks to get to work, and a lot of people couldn't make it. And quorum rules were designed for fairness, to make sure that a small minority couldn't just pass whatever they want whenever people weren't there. It was there to ensure fairness, not to halt the system. Because if you think the logic through, in theory, people could break quorum on the first day of regular session for 2 years, and the state would grind to a halt.
Right.
Quorum was never designed to be a tool, or not a tool, a weapon against the system. It's kind of the same logic. When it's in their favor, they like it, and it's all fine and dandy. Same thing with, the border. When Obama was locking people up, no one had any problems with that. But then a Republican, Trump, gets in office, and suddenly they're crying at the gates. It's just hypocrisy.
Yeah. And so, George, there's a lot of things we can talk about in this topic. We can talk about the vacated seats. And Mark, we can talk about quo warranto. A lawsuit to remove people. It's called quo warranto. We can talk about the warrants. There's a lot of things that we can talk about when we get into this topic, Karen. And I don't know what direction you wanted to go. So I want to make sure that we address that. I know Karen's not here to point at the clock. So George, you have a 3-minute timer before the first block. I'm imagining Karen sitting here, and I'm imagining her flipping you off and saying, "Hey, dumbass, look at the camera." She mouths it out, George, behind your back. You're welcome, Karen.
I was even wondering if George was there, and thank you very much, George.
Just listening. It occurs to me that the only reason this is news is because Democrats are unhappy about it. It's not that Democrats hate gerrymandering; it's just that they hate the Republicans are doing it.
Right. Exactly. Right.
That's it. And this all of this sort of dramatic protest and leaving the state and going to Illinois. The irony is, but I get back to the education of the masses. Our founders wanted, yes, a virtuous people, but they wanted educated people. They wanted people who actually had some working understanding of the constitutional republic that they're in. So when these kinds of things come up, there should be a massive collective eye roll, really, across the country, because people should know this is not only part of our system, but that Democrats have actually done more of it than Republicans have done. In fact, 4, and you mentioned this, I wondered if you were going to elaborate on it, but at least 4 of the 5 top gerrymandered states in the union are Democrat. They're in blue states. And as Nico pointed out, the disproportionality, because it's based on voting, theoretically it's based on voting, whatever districts you have, two things hold. The population should be roughly the same per representative. It doesn't always work out that way. And it should reflect kind of the sort of voting inertia of the district or of the state. And in many cases, that's actually not the case. And if you look at Illinois, it's grotesque. In California, it's grotesque, where you literally have double-digit differences between the number of people that voted Democrat and the number of seats that are actually held by Democrat congressmen. So they've played this game actually very effectively. Kudos to Democrats, really, because they've mastered this game. They've done it very, very well. And they're just pissed off right now because Republicans have actually awakened from a slumber. And Trump, legitimately, I think he and Abbott have been looking at the midterms and saying, look, we have an opportunity here to use a legal process to gain political advantage. Somebody please explain to me why that's a problem.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we have about 30 seconds before Karen's going to yell at us with the phone to go to break. but the Supreme Court has weighed in on this. And so the Supreme Court says this is legal. I mean, this is political party distinction is not the same as ethnicity or race, or gender, things of that nature. And so this is legal. So there's nothing illegal about it. There's nothing unethical about it. They're claiming, this is against ethics, but it's hard to claim something when you've done it and you have done it effectively. Karen, I know we're at 9:15. You want to go take us to break?
Yes, and it's funny because that's all I could think about when all of this was happening is you, Nico, saying, hey, take the high road, keep it legal, and that's what's happening, and it's working for the Republican. This is Sidebar. Go to sidebartv.com. We're going to take a little break right now, and we'll be right back.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is Sidebar. We always try to help you find sidebartv.com because that's where you can go to find us on social media. We're going to continue after the show. As usual, we have a conversation. Back to what we were talking about earlier, it's so funny because all of the things that are happening right now, whether it comes to gerrymandering or the census, all of these things are legal. And I heard one of the things that the Democrats were talking about when it comes to the census is that you have to wait 10 years for the census to happen. But then I heard the explanation is it has to be within 10 years. And so all of these things that the Democrats are trying to pick out and say, you can't do this, you can't do this, it's as if the Republicans finally got a copy of the playbook and they're doing things by the law. And that's, it made me happy that Trump's, saying, yep, that's the way it goes. And so is Governor Abbott.
Well, Karen, so every 10 years, constitutionally, we do a census, right? That's per the Constitution. But there's nothing that says that how you do it and what you do with it. And then so now there's a different discussion on who do we count in this census. I mean, so we have immigrants. So there's legal immigrants here and there's illegal immigrants here. And so even though illegal immigrants cannot legally vote, I'm not here to talk about the argument of whether they do vote or not. That's a different discussion. But I'm just saying they can't legally vote, but should they be counted on the census? Because that's going to determine how these party lines and these maps get drawn up. And so there's a separate argument to that. So this census argument that the Democrats are, again, I'm you know me, I have no problem criticizing Republicans. I really try to call balls and strikes the best I can. Of course, I have a certain worldview. I have a biblically minded worldview. I have a conservative minded worldview. But I really want to make sure I'm on a righteous position. So if something is unfair or something is inconsistent, I'm going to call it out. And so I really sat back this whole week and listened. I really did. I was listening to people. I was listening to commentary. I was listening to quote unquote both sides to the argument. And if you don't like gerrymandering, then number one, you shouldn't use it, right? And number two, we should change the laws. And that's just that simple. So there's nothing illegal going on. The 10-year census constitutional requirement, Karen, it doesn't mean that you can't do it in between. There's nothing to say you can't do it every session. There's nothing that stops it legally, right, Mark? Am I correct by saying that?
I'm not an expert on that, but as far as I know, no.
Yeah, and so all I'm saying is, so for Abbott to want to do it now, I mean, there's an objective argument for it. I understand my Democrat friends are going to disagree and have different opinions about that, but I'm just saying there's an objective argument to do it now with the influx that Mark mentioned earlier of people coming to this city, to our state, and then also the argument. I have not researched whether it's true. There's an argument that the census from 2020 wasn't accurate due to COVID and other factors. Maybe our data man over here, George, can speak to that. Can you or not?
No, I mean, there's been reports about that. I don't know that that's connected to this drive to do a mid-cycle. So both things are true. I think that's accurate. There's been reports on that and it's not conservative reports. It's just reports in general,
period. Whether
CNN or Fox or from Breitbart or Mother Jones, whatever. I mean, it's generally understood that that's the case. 2020 was an anomaly for lots of reasons. We're going to talk about something else related to the COVID and vaccines probably later on that talks about how anomalous 2020 was. But I think it's more that let's just be honest. It's typically understood that in midterms that the party in power tends to lose some representation in Congress. That's not new. That's been around forever.
Right. Typically,
not always the case. And while arguably you can argue, you can claim that Trump's been very, very successful on virtually everything he's attempted so far in such a short period of time, the dynamic is there. It just is that Americans typically have a tendency to change the party in power, at least in Congress. And so there's a concern about that. And we have conservatives have a paper thin margin right now. It's 5 seats. We had hoped we'd be at 15, 20 seats. We're not. And Johnson has said, look, part of the reason for that is because of gerrymandering. And he's come out and said that. In blue states, we just simply couldn't get as many representatives as we thought we were going to get from blue states because of very effective gerrymandering in those blue states. Again, kudos to Democrats. But that doesn't mean now you can't go to red states and work within the law in those red states to try to create. And that's really, let's just be honest about it. This will create an estimate of 5 to 10 additional seats, we believe, in Texas. Right now, it's 25 to 13. There's 38 representatives in the state of Texas in the House of Representatives. It's a 25 to 13 split. 25 Republicans, 13 Democrats. And it's believed by the time this is done, and let me just be very clear, the chances of this not going through are slim to none. This will very likely go through. And that could be a huge boon of additional 5 to 10 representatives in the House of Representatives. So that paper thin margin, I think if things stay the same, we don't lose anymore. Will be increased.
Well, I always like to have inside baseball discussions, and if you can say, Mark, obviously you're not going to violate any confidences that from your colleagues, but what's the sentiment up there in Austin? I mean, what's going on? I mean, not all Democrats have left the state, right? I saw some people that we know here from our local representatives here. I saw Trey Fisher, Martinez Fisher. I saw Ray up there. I don't know who else I saw up there. But what's the sentiment? What's going on? I mean, what the hell are you guys doing up there if you can't have a quorum? You guys talking about what?
Well, that's the $1 question. And under the law, under the Constitution, we can't do anything without quorum.
So the Senate's working. They're doing what they're doing.
They have quorum.
They have quorum. And so when you go up there during the week, I mean, do you literally just do
gavel in, gavel out? I mean, the only positive thing is, the pressure that's being put on up to this point has worked. Every time we've gavelled in, 1 or 2 more Democrats show up. We had another one show up yesterday, Mary Gonzalez from El Paso. I think we're 3 members shy from reaching quorum. We go back Monday. God willing, we'll reach quorum. Although, special's already 2/3 the way through.
So now what else is on the, because the Democrats are saying things like, wow, we need to address Kerrville. I can't believe you're making this an issue. Can't the argument be switched back at them? I mean, obviously when you have special sessions, you go to you handle multiple issues. I mean, I'm not an expert on special sessions. You tell me.
No, I mean, look, every argument has two sides of the coin. Right. I mean, the reality of it, right? I mean, the argument is, screw gerrymandering, just do flood relief, do property taxes. But the flip side is also true, which is we're called to go to work. I mean, the reality is this, is you may not like, I had bills that I voted against that passed. I didn't get up and leave.
You had bills you voted against. You didn't support the bill, but they still passed anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
There's 150 people out there. And so, you don't just get up and leave. I mean, when it's a conscious decision, like I said before, I think you really have abandoned your post. I mean, if you logically take the rules of quorum to just a non-controversial, bills or the whole session, I mean, in theory, if what they're saying, because they're up in arms that Governor Abbott and Ken Paxton, everyone is trying to put force to make them show up. And, well, of course, it's not a valid tool, because if it was a valid tool, you could literally shut down the entire legislature for a 2-year cycle if 51 members decided not to show up the entire session. Nothing would get done.
Right.
So what can happen to them?
So, Karen, go ahead. Ask the question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what can happen to them? I mean, obviously, it's going to pass. They do have to come back. But, I mean, bottom line is Beto going to jail? I'm just kidding.
No. I mean, they issued warrants. I guess the speaker. Yeah. The speaker. It's kind of so when you're subpoenaed to court, there's something the judge can issue what we call a writ of attachment. You say, hey, wait, you were subpoenaed to court. Get your ass to court. I'm not going to tell you what to testify to, but we're going to go attach you. We're going to issue a writ. We're going to attach you, and we're going to bring you to court, and you're going to testify the way you want to testify, but you're showing up to court. We're not going to start this process, and this is not going to be the norm that people can ignore legal subpoenas. That's the authority of the court. So this is equivalent to a writ of attachment warrant, right, Mark? I mean, if we're trying to essentially, so the speaker has signed these warrants, right? He's issued them. And now the question I have, the legal question, is what's the reach of the warrant? I mean, right? Because a Texas warrant, you can't go. I mean, there's interstate compact laws, and you can do writ of attachments only if the other state allows it. So there's an agreement. When I was DA,
and that's not going to happen in Illinois.
Well, no, of course not, or in New York. I mean, when I was
they're not there by accident.
When I was district attorney, if someone committed a crime or alleged to have committed a crime in Texas, and it was a violent crime or some serious crime, they would bring a governor's warrant to me, and I would sign governor's warrants to issue them. And then you have this interstate compact agreement between that state to say, and 49 of the states have them, I think, Mark, right? Where you go and you say, I'm going to attach your person. We're going to cooperate among states, because we don't want the standard of all someone has to do is leave the state where they commit a crime.
Back in the old days.
And then, back in the old days, then you have these, bounty hunters. And so that becomes more dangerous. But these governors can say no. Yeah. So that's what's going on here. So, Karen, to answer your question, and Mark can correct me because he's the real lawyer in the room. But
sure.
but so number one, you issue a warrant, and how far does that warrant go? Now, Senator Cornyn is asking for the feds to issue federal warrants, which would, now I don't know under what theory they're going to do that, legal theory, but there can be a federal authority to get them. Or number two, they can file, and I think they have filed these suits called quo warranto suits, where you remove someone from office for some legal reason that's enumerated in the government code, right, Mark?
Yeah, abandonment.
Abandonment. That's the issue. It's intoxication. There's all kinds of reasons why you can do it, but abandonment, you're abandoning your post essentially is what they're going to claim.
Yeah. So
the governor was also talking about how the staff can even be let go or fired because, why are they there if their representative is not there?
I didn't hear that one, but I mean, it makes sense.
That makes sense. I was going to say, this all started because Abbott included this in a special session, which expires in 2 weeks, but then he can just call another one.
And another one. And another one.
And so
and another one.
Yeah. So legally, it seems to me if this is perpetual, then the grounds for removal shoot way up. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the financial element of it. The venerable, maybe not so venerable, Robert Francis O'Rourke, apparently his organization has been contributing to paying the expenses.
Don't be disrespectful. Call him Beto. That's his name. What's the matter with you?
there's illegality associated with that. So there's that issue. So this is really
an argument too.
It's spinning way out of control here, and I don't think this is going to go in the direction of Democrats. And I think, again, back to what you said, Mark, you are a representative. You should be representing on the issues that people care about. And at the end of the day, this posturing, this isn't new. This has happened before. I mean, it's not like this is unprecedented. And we mentioned at the top of the hour that it hasn't gone well. Eventually, the work of the people has to get done, and voters kind of sour on this kind of stuff. They don't take too well to people just sort of vacating their spot because the issues that they care about. I mean, you look at the individuals that have left. It's over 50 of them, right, that have actually left the state. Look at their districts. I mean, crime's out of control. Yeah. Wages are souring. The fundamentals are out of control. They're not working. But they're in Illinois because they're fighting for democracy while not upholding democracy. I mean, the inconsistency, that's why it ultimately comes back to an educated populace, people who can reason clearly and not make decisions based on emotion. That's what worries me. Now, all of this is about emotion.
Mark, we have a minute before we go to the break because Karen's going to text me and cuss me out. But I mean, are there Democrats that haven't left? I heard an interview, a clip of an interview from a representative. I don't want to screw his name up. Briscoe Kane?
Briscoe.
You know Briscoe?
Yeah.
Okay, so he said that many of these Democrats don't agree with this crap, but they're just afraid of being primaried. Like, they don't want this. They don't think this is good for the system. They don't agree with it. They understand politics is the way it is. This is legal, and they should be here to vote. And if they lose, they lose. And that's just the way it goes next time when an election. But they're being pressured because of being primary. Do you feel the same way?
I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
is Briscoe lying, Mark? No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
No, I mean, he's good people.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I mean, he says what he thinks, whether you want to hear it or not.
Oh, okay. He's like you. All right, Karen, we're going to go to break. It's 9:30. What are we doing?
Okay. Yeah. At 9:30, we're going to come back. So I will talk to you all in a minute. But everybody else, you need to go to sidebartv.com. Get on social media because at 10, we will go on social media live, and we'd love your input. This is Sidebar. We'll be right back.
San Antonio's news, weather, traffic, plus breaking news 24/7. This is News Radio 1200 WOAI from the GiveMeTheVin.com Sell Us Your Cars studio.
I'm Eric Lycum, and News Radio 1200 WOAI. A Texas judge says Beto O'Rourke is violating the law by financially supporting fleeing Texas Democrats. Details coming up. First, traffic and weather together.
The WOAI Traffic Center.
Loop 410 southbound, the on-ramp from Houston Street is closed due to construction. Over on 35 northbound, the off-ramp to Evans Road is also closed for road work. I'm Alexis, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Sunny 95 this afternoon. We've got sunny 79 now at the WOAI 24-hour weather center. Our top story. A Texas judge rules against Beto O'Rourke and his nonprofit, which was accused by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton of illegally raising funds to support Democrat lawmakers who fled the state to avoid a vote on GOP redistricting. Judge Megan Fahey issued a temporary restraining order. O'Rourke filed a countersuit against Paxton. As Democratic lawmakers continue to stall the congressional redistricting effort designed to flip those seats into Republican seats at President Trump's request, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick tells Fox's Hannity last night those new maps are inevitable.
We're going to arrest them and bring them back to the House if that's what needs to be done, or they'll show up. They can't win. They have a losing hand. Governor Abbott has also threatened to remove the Democrat lawmakers from office. News on demand at WOAI.com. Breaking information as it happens. I'm Eric Lycum on San Antonio's news, weather, and traffic station, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
This report is sponsored by CPS Energy.
Hi, I'm Cam the Chameleon with CPS Energy, letting you know that today is a yellow day. It's a peak energy demand day. Learn more and save at cpsenergy.com/conserve and save.
Hi, this is Sidebar. I'm Karen Klaus, and you are listening to Sidebar on the radio, but you need to go to sidebartv.com to get on social media where the show will continue at 10. I keep on getting these texts about rebate checks or tariff checks, and I want to ask about that. But before we go on to the next topic, I mean, really, Mark LaHood, you had your first taste, the foot in the water, the toe that you dipped in. Was it ugly, pretty, surprising? Can we ask Mark a little bit about his experience?
Yeah. Did you hear the question?
I did.
Yeah. So, I've been talking to Mark through the whole first session, and he's taken on some battles. I'm not saying this is the time. Maybe this is not the show to bring it up, but I know Mark's not afraid to talk about it. I mean, one thing. I mean, I give Mark my opinion when he asks of it. I don't offer it unless he asks. He's a grown-ass man, and he's got his own thoughts. I'm proud of him. He was voted to go into to Austin with a set of principles and ideas, and he didn't compromise them. And he got, I'm not trying to elevate this, Mark, but you got sideways with the governor. You got sideways with people in our party. You got sideways with people, quote-unquote, on your side. And because you applied principles to a set of facts, whoever presented them to you, you know? And he's coming in as a freshman. I know freshmen usually go along to get along. Freshman meaning first-time rep. And you weren't trying to be a rebel rouser, and I know you weren't trying to be a bull in a China store just for the hell of it. But you had to. One thing Mark and I talked about, and I just said, Mark, as long as you can stand before the Lord and answer for every one of your decisions, and you can look at your wife and your kids, and you can, you probably don't sleep much, but you can go to bed with a good, clear conscience. Then let the chips fall where they may, right, Mark? So Karen's question is, how was his first session? I won't say that the private stuff you told me, like it's like high school and 13th grade and all the crap. I know I'm teasing, but go ahead. So say some of the things about the first session.
We got a snitch here.
I'm a rat.
No, in a lot of ways it was better than I thought it would be. In a lot of ways it was the same. In some ways it was worse. I think probably the coolest thing is I still am in awe every time I walk into the Capitol. Just you walk into this beautiful building, the history, what it is. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. When I first ran for office, I wasn't excited. I ran out of a sense of duty because I believed it needed to be done for our kids, for our district, for our state. But I wasn't excited about it. And probably the biggest shock for me was that I love it more than being a lawyer.
Wow. I've heard him say that.
Absolutely love it because it's basically the same job in the sense that you're dealing with law, you're dealing with bills, you still have evidence and hearings and cross-examination and relationships. But instead of protecting and advocating and defending one person at a time, you're defending 220,000 people in your district and 31 million Texans across the state. I mean, it's truly awe-inspiring to know that you are able to help and protect, just that many people. I mean, it sounds cheesy, but it's
no. But I know Mark. Obviously, he's my brother. He talks the same way when he's talking privately with me. He just does. I mean, I would not divulge any confidences, but I'm all joking aside, he does. I mean, I've seen a maturation in you, Mark. I've talked to you about that. I've seen you mature. I mean, you only get tested under fire. You walk out with some scars, but you're different for it. And so I've seen it, and you can see the resolve. He's been tested. I mean, there's some, and we'll have you back on the show if you allow us to talk about some of your battles once this is over. I know you got a plenty on your plate right now, but to talk about your experience. What was it like dealing within your own caucus, dealing with the opposite side? I know you're friends with a lot of people on both sides of the aisle, and you're known for that, right? That people know they can approach you, and you're open-minded, and you actually listen and take in information. But ultimately, you have to answer to the people of 121, District 121, to both Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, as a whole.
And I know that once you finish with session, he's going to do a series of town halls, and because he wants to answer questions, take criticism, take compliments, and also take suggestions, right, Mark? We talked about that. So I hope that satisfied your question, Karen. Can we talk about tariffs?
And after we gerrymander, I hope Mark's district grows.
Yeah,
if we can make his district bigger, that'd be great. Let's put a plug in.
I was exactly going to say that. That's pretty funny. And I totally know what you're saying about the Capitol, Mark, because when I was going to UT in Austin, my job, my part-time job was I worked for a representative, and every time you walk in that building, it is like
beautiful.
The history. I mean, I get goosebumps just talking about it because it's just a wonderful place, and you're blessed to have had this opportunity.
If you haven't gone, people that are listening, you really should go.
Without a doubt.
It's really neat. I mean, I love all the old sessions and the old pictures down towards the basement. I mean, just the building. I mean, I don't know if there's secret rooms or secret passages. Mark, you can talk about that.
There's some vaults down there.
There's vaults down. Have you
in some of the offices?
Have you gone down there?
I mean, they're not used vault. I mean, they're not storing stuff still.
No.
But like Ryan
what's
Gee's
in there?
office has one of the old vaults, and it's still there. And you go in it. It's
a neat building.
It really is. It really is. And I'll tell you a random story. When I was in 4th grade, one of our classmates' moms was elected to the state representatives. So we did the 4th grade trip up there. And unfortunately, Mr. Perry passed away, I guess, this year. But they reached out to me. They went through his old files, and he had a folder that said 1989, and they were going through it. And he had my letter that I wrote, saying thank you for. And
that's
so,
cool.
Yeah, I'm getting it framed, but
Absolutely.
yeah, how cool is that?
That is cool. So if he was in 4th grade in 1989, do the math. You can figure out how old he is.
Do that.
And you're older than
Well,
me.
Hey, Mark. That's true. I know.
I want to put Mark on the spot here because he said something really important as we went to break, and I don't want to lose sight of it if I can. Mark, you said that what's happening, all this gerrymandering drama, is really sort of a symptom of a deeper problem with the rule of law. Can you say that again? Because I think that's important.
I mean, my thought on it was just this, was that, we have seen more and more over the years that, and we saw it in California with the protests, if you don't like the law, you go out there and you say, oh, we're just going to ignore the law. We're just going to defy the law. We're going to do whatever law we want. We're going to defy the system, not work in the system to try and better it. It would be like losing an election and then essentially it's just, I think that the show that we are seeing is just more of the same, which is we don't like what we're seeing, and instead of playing by the rules and doing the job and the work and working to make the changes that we actually want, we're just going to try and force our view or our opinion or the way we want it, which is not how the rule of law works. You give an inch. I think the biggest problem is this, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the gerrymandering, that, oh my God, this is unprecedented. Well, just because we didn't put our foot down before doesn't mean that it's wrong to do it now or exercise it. Because if you don't, it's like with your children, if you don't enforce the rule of law, you give an inch, you give an inch, you give an inch. Before you know, you're a foot, you're 5 feet, you're a mile away. And now we keep seeing more and more of this. I mean, people are just ignoring law whenever they don't want to. And we're seeing the chaos throughout the country.
Isn't it funny that that's exactly what's going on with the tariffs? Like, America just kept letting all of these countries get away with it year after year after year while we were suffering. And finally somebody puts their foot down, and here we are. And you can criticize what's going on because you don't know what's going on because nobody's reporting it. But, I mean, good stuff is happening, but no one knows.
Yeah, the tariff thing, Karen, remember back then, again, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And I know what economists say about tariffs in general. The tariffs increase prices and they pass it on to the consumer and all the other stuff. I get it. And logically, that makes sense to me when you think about, okay, if you're going to put more costs on a product coming in, this widget, and then the company needs to make money who produces and manufactures that widget, well then it's going to be passed on because they want to keep their profit margins. They have to keep their shareholders and their board happy. Got it. Okay, check. And Trump made an argument, an economic argument. Scott Bessent made an economic argument. And they had logic. I really listened because I didn't have an opinion at first. I liked the idea of tariffs. I looked at the history that we used to have tariffs and not an income tax. I really like that, right? Goods cost more. Yeah, you have more money in your pocket because there's no income tax. Because at one point we didn't have an income tax here in the United States. We just had tariffs. And so there was, and I don't know if that's still viable now. I mean, I'll let the bean counters like George and all the brainiacs figure that one out, and I'll just listen and give my opinion. But what we've seen, two things. Number one, I can't stand when people are taken advantage of. And the United States, objectively, without any controverting facts, has been taken advantage of by this this inequitable tariff trade situation we've had. We've been in a deficit. And it didn't make any sense because we have the market. We have the economy that everybody wants to tap into. And so the idea that Trump wanted to even the playing field, I thought that was just objectively, okay, makes sense. Now, how do you do it? Okay, that's another question. How do you do it? And he's saying, if you're going to tariff us 20%, We're not tariffing you 5%. We're tariffing you 20%. Our market's more valuable than yours. I got the cards. I'm the one that has, that's what he means by that. I'm the one that I have a better hand because you want my market more than we want yours. Now, do we want your product? Maybe. But we should make our product here if we can make an environment better for people to manufacture here in this country.
Like we used to.
Say again?
Like we used to.
Like we used to, right? Made in America type deal. And so that was always something we were proud of. And so the idea that all of that, I've been very supportive of this. Now, I didn't know exactly how it was going to affect economic trends, but I think we're seeing that it's not affecting what people, and I love when people can humble themselves and say, and I've heard some people on the left do this.
Yeah.
And even Bill Maher, who I like. I don't support all of his positions, but I like him overall. He's like, I was wrong. And I love that humility when someone can say, I need to course correct. So, Karen, I mean, it's been a big money maker for the United States.
Right.
Does it sustain? It does. Did it create inflation? We're at 2.7%, right? I mean, so I get that we want to be at 2%, but it hasn't blown us up on inflation. And so for me, I think it's been a good thing. Mark, I'm sure you have an opinion about it as well. I think it's been a good thing. I like it. I think it should continue. I definitely don't want us being taken advantage of it, especially when we have more to offer in the sense of opportunity for countries to bring their goods into us because we have the golden market here, so to speak, than us to them. So that's my opinion on it, Karen. I'm not sure that's where you wanted to go with this, but that's what I believe.
No, absolutely. And you know, we have about a minute left, but I do want to ask George, like, what is it that they're talking about when they're talking about these tariff rebates? Why am I getting
George, you have a minute. Go. Karen said you have a minute. Go.
Mark, I should have been an auctioneer. I really should.
Karen always abuses George here.
Right now, because I really do want an explanation for that. So we're going to take it a little bit early, but when we come back, I want to know, what is a tariff rebate, and do we even have a choice, or are they just teasing us with that? Okay, this is Sidebar. Go to sidebartv.com. Get on social media because we're going to wrap it up soon, and we want you to stick with us. We'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here with Sidebar. Remember, sidebartv.com. That's where we continue the show. And George, I know. I'm going to ask you about tariff and tariff rebates, but Nico, you were quiet all week long. Were you out of town? What were you doing? I heard something about you being in prison.
Yeah, I was in prison. I was representing myself in prison. I did. I had a wonderful opportunity to go to Dominguez State Prison, right outside of San Antonio, with Pastor David Cameron, a dear brother of mine, a friend of mine, and he was with Refuge Church on the South Side. He invited me, and Jeff Jaramillo is one of his congregants in his church, started a ministry called Mess to Message Ministry. So your mess, God can turn into a message. And then, you know, my journey, yeah, it's good. Jeff's a good dude, and Pastor David is a great dude. He's Scottish, and he's a Scottish pastor on the South Side. Do the math. Figure that one out. But he's got a heavy Scottish accent, but he's a great guy, loves the Lord, and he's passionate about it. So they invited me, and I shared we went to F Block, and where Jeff is doing that ministry, Mess to Message Ministry. And I got an opportunity to share, and the wardens were gracious. Both the head warden and the assistant executive warden came in to listen and shared my journey to Christ and just turned him, redemptive story. And the testimonies after the worship was insane. These guys are in there worshiping. And I always say, I've done prison ministry before in Tennessee Colony, Texas, there as well. And these men that are in prison are more free than many of us out here. I mean, the worship is insane. The discussions after the fellowship, because we stayed after and we fellowshiped with them, and they really appreciated me sharing. And I just love the opportunity to thank you to Jeff. I don't know if Jeff's listening or Pastor David listens sometimes. So thank you to both Mess to Message Ministry and Pastor David Cameron for inviting me out there. I'm going to go again. I'm going to do it more often. I mean, I've done it in the past, and I loved it. It was really good. So thanks for asking about that, Karen.
David Cameron's a good man.
I would say that I would want to join you one time, but I don't.
They won't let you back out because when I tell them what you did, they're going to keep you in there.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, let George talk.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, George. Sorry.
So there's 20
George,
seconds.
what is going on with this tariff and the tariff rebates? What is it?
Well, I mean, we don't know what the rebate or dividend process would actually look like. That hasn't been fleshed out. But look, from a PR perspective, it works great. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense when you consider what the deficit is right now. But shoot, if I got to pick whether that money goes to bureaucrats in Washington or whether it goes to the average American, we'll take it all day long, and I won't turn down a paycheck, another paycheck. But so we don't know what the logistics are. That hasn't been actually explained. But there's a bigger point here. The bigger point is that there's a ton of money coming into the Treasury, and that's been absolutely corroborated by both liberal and conservative sources in the media, to the tune of, Nico, some $28 billion, and that is truly, at the risk of using the most overused word, unprecedented in terms of the history of the Treasury in terms of receiving tariff
monthly.
That's correct.
I thought it was $100 billion as of.
Well, it's $28 billion just in July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. It's $28 billion just in July. It's a record breaker, but you're absolutely right. We're actually at about $150 billion, if Besson is to be believed. And he said this up front about 5 or 6 months ago, Mark. He said, look, I mean, if you do the math within about 12 months, I don't see why we can't, eat away at about 1% of GDP. I mean, we're talking about $300 billion
do the math on that.
In additional revenue. That's enormous. And
in 6 months.
Yeah, and the Congressional Budget Office, which is no huge friend of Trump, has admitted that over 10 years, because all budgeting is done over a period of 10 years. There's that 10 years again. It's somewhere around $3 trillion worth of revenue.
Over 10 years.
Which the Congressional Budget Office, not unlike Colin Powell, kind of shoved off to the side as a footnote, because in their view, their fear that tariffs are going to be more inflationary, that's the headline. So it's interesting to me that they're saying on the math, based on what's happening right now, empirically, we see about $3 trillion of revenue in 10 years, $300 billion per year. And because we're seeing it happen month by month. But it doesn't matter because we're afraid that the tariffs are going to be inflationary. It's interesting. We can't be running economics by fear. And I just wish they'd give the guy a little credit. I mean, he's had one administration already. We've already confirmed there's been no inflationary pressure as a result of that. There still hasn't been right now. Nico's right. Prices have gone up slightly, but every indication is that the companies are absorbing it. They're not passing it on to consumers.
Right.
And so I guess the point is, maybe we got to just give this guy a break. Can we just wait a little bit? Because so far, so good, it seems to me.
Mark, I don't know if you have an opinion on the tariff rebate. My deal is, of course, I love the idea. It is a phenomenal PR move for sure. But I'm kind of cautious on the precedent. I mean, if you call it a tax rebate versus kind of a tariff distribution, I think I'm better off with it, because then what do you do? Is it every year? Does it become a welfare program? I mean, that's my concern. I mean, in welfare program just meaning the government giving individuals money for whatever reason. I mean, so are we going to be doing this every year? To your point, we still have a tremendous deficit we need to chip down at. I love the idea of how much it was, like $1,700 at first, and then maybe it's $400, whatever it's going to be. I don't know. I'm good with the tax rebate. My just concern is, again, play it out. Does it become a yearly thing? Is it every year? I'm just not in the habit of wanting the government to give out money. I'd rather you just save us money. Lower my taxes, and I'm cool with it. If you just lower the tax rate, and because you have this tariff money coming in, I'm better with that, because that's going to spur the economy anyway.
No, I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I mean, principally, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, well, there you go.
Well, going back to what you said, Nico, is it possible, George, that we may be moving in the direction of no income tax? Is it possible even?
Holy mackerel. Talk about a long...
10 seconds.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Go.
Man, I'd love to see that. I mean, for how long,
Me
Mark?
too.
I mean, if you had to guess, at least 2/3 of the nation's history really didn't have an income tax. Just like the tariffs. It used to be largely a tariff-based system. So I love when people say, that's impossible. I know, because we've lived like 10 seconds relative to the history of the country. And so we lack historical precedent. We don't have a very good horizontal view of history. And I think, boy, it would be so good if we could just get back to that. So we could just cool our jets and chill and have a conversation, right? That actually looks at history.
Unfortunately, I don't think until we can get our deficit under real control, I don't think that's ever going to be a real possibility.
But no tax, you mean? No income tax?
Yeah. I mean, what is it now? 36 trillion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And it's still growing?
Well, I think you can at least tell people that's our goal. And if you're bringing in $3 trillion of revenue from tariffs over 10 years, and you do a different, that combination, that synergistic effect of both,
but we have to cut,
and cut spending.
Economics, business rules don't change because you're in politics, right? If you have $100 coming in, but you're spending $150 every month.
I agree.
You can make it 10 million. You're making 10 million a month, but you're spending 15 million a month. You're still in the hole.
Yep.
We have to cut spending.
Very, very valid point. I was going to say, Mark, if we can have a Vance Rubio administration and things continue the way they're going.
Amen.
I have 2 seconds.
I would love that.
And things continue the way they're going. I think that you could see a real conversation about shifting from an income tax-based system to a consumer-based system. That seems more logical. You should get taxed on what you consume, not necessarily just on what you earn. So I think the conversation, and that's what Trump has proposed.
The consumption tax, Karen. Karen asked, what is that, George? I don't know if you heard her.
Well, right now, you're taxed based on what your net income is. Or, excuse me, your gross income is.
But the more money you have on a consumption basis, you'll spend more, right? So that's why
that's exactly right.
And
it's based on what
behind rebates and all that. You're giving people money to get them back spending.
Yeah, exactly right. So that seems to me more fair. And Trump has proposed that, and there's been some conversation about it, but I don't see that. Actually, I don't see that growing legs until by God's grace, a Vance Rubio administration. Trump said this just this last week that he actually said that he sees a Vance. Rubio.
He intimated that, sure, but he always brings up Rubio when he brings up Vance. I mean, he just finally said it seems.
That.
Did you notice that, Karen? Look, you know how I feel about Rubio. The guy's a badass. I think Rubio is the standard. I mean, he has matured into just a polished, very forthcoming, objective, just very, consistent public servant. And I think he's wonderful. I really do. I think he's great. I would have zero issue with him being the presidential candidate. He says he's not going to be. He understands order, and he knows. We all know that. J.D. Vance is doing a great job, by the way. I'm not anti-J.D. Vance. I'd be great with J.D. Vance, but J.D. Vance Rubio, forget about it. That'd be amazing for me.
Your brother, Mark, calls him the closest thing to a perfect politician.
Besides Mark.
Besides.
Minus his lisp.
Well done. Mark, it does seem to make sense to take some of that tariff revenue. If that's not going to go towards the national debt, which I think ultimately it should, maybe it should go to some of those companies that do experience some of those pressures to offset. So whatever that may be, that might be a good use of that tariff money, to offset some of these fears that importers are going to sustain those costs and transfer them to the American consumer. Maybe have that as kind of a rainy day, if that's in fact to sort of absorb some of that shock. There's been some conversation about that too. But how would you use it?
Well, look, Karen, I don't know if we only have 4 minutes here, and I know we have the after show. I don't know if you wanted to just finish up with the vaccine discussion, because that's a big deal. I know George can.
That is a big deal.
Just give him his typical 3 minutes to answer a question if you want.
Yeah.
But it's up to you.
No. It is a huge topic, but I don't want to jackknife the whole topics. But I keep on thinking, as we're talking about all of these subjects, I just can't believe that the things that have happened with the Trump administration have only happened within the first 6 or 7 months. And that in itself is mind-blowing, because I just wonder, have other presidents come in and just, what's going to happen for the rest of the 4 years? It's like he's gotten everything done in the first few months. It feels like it anyway.
Well, Mark, these are largely not yet implemented. We need to this stuff needs to get fully implemented and entrenched in the American economy, American foreign policy.
Yep.
These are great ideas. They've started off very well. Trump's had a lot of Supreme Court wins, so we can get a lot of the bureaucratic pushback out of the way. These are big wins in the last 5-6 months. Now comes the hard part, right? I mean, passing a bill is one thing. You actually have to get it done.
Right.
Like the big, beautiful bill. I mean, that actually has to, and Nico always says, they still have to sell it because we have midterms coming up.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
people
look,
are 50-50 on the big, beautiful bill right now.
Yeah.
So there's still work to be done.
and the big beautiful bill. I mean, the idea. I mean, the economic. We didn't talk about it last week. The economic quarterly report. There were some things that business investment was down. That could be held back from the big beautiful bill, right? I mean, they're waiting to see how that's going to be implemented, and it could be a lagging indicator, as we talked about before. I mean, so there's things that I'm still focused, and I've been focused on midterms. I mean, because if the Republicans don't hold control, I mean, everything Trump, he better get all this crap done now because he ain't going to do anything. He's not going to do anything after that.
Fighting impeachment.
He's going to be a lame duck, and he's going to be fighting impeachment. Now, it won't pass the Senate if we hold the Senate. But, I mean, I guess for me, Mark, and I know you share this mindset because we've had many discussions. For me, I really, and I'm going to use the word hate, how politics has developed in our country. Because you have to hate the other side to disagree with them. You can't agree with anything on the other side. I mean, I know people whisper to you, hey, Mark, I would support you, but, when I was in office, it was the same thing to me. It was this whisper campaign that I really don't believe in this, but to maybe Briscoe Kane's point about that, hey, a lot of Democrats don't support this crap, but they have to or they're going to get primaried. And I don't know how you do it because you have such an ideological shift. It seems like pain is a good motivator. Briscoe Kane's point about that, hey, a lot of Democrats don't support this crap, but they have to or they're going to get primaried. And I don't know how you do it because you have such an ideological shift. It seems like pain is
Opinions expressed are those of the advertiser and do not necessarily represent those of WOAI and iHeartMedia.
Don't even listen. Welcome.
All right, we're live. Here we are. We're going to talk about, what do you guys want to talk? Karen is gone. She's going to the ceremony. You want to continue your conversation on break? Set it up so people can understand what Mark was saying when Salo interrupted your conversation.
Mark, you were saying just now during the break, I think, again, sort of the crux of the matter here in our political discourse in the country that we damn well better address. It's hard to see how things improving unless we do, or we don't even listen to each other, number one. And it seems to be one giant problem with confirmation bias. I'm going to hang out with people that believe what I believe, and people that don't believe what I believe aren't just wrong, but in many cases they're evil.
Yeah, they're vilified.
Yeah, and that's it. So I mean, what's the way forward? And the way forward is to continue to insist that we have a conversation. Which it seems to me that's been the approach you've taken. And you were saying, like, you were talking about your campaign strategy, knocking on doors, engaging in discussions, grassroots type stuff in here. You push back by demonstrating it.
Are we on?
I'm not hearing myself coming through the mic.
Myself.
Oh, but you're on.
Okay, cool. Going good.
Okay. Somebody just turned the volume way down. I can't hear myself.
We're good. Salo said we're good. That's good.
Okay. So, a major problem with confirmation bias, hanging out with people that believe exactly as I believe and everybody else is wrong or evil. Where do we go from here?
I mean, my humble opinion is just to truly have a conversation. I mean, but a conversation isn't just letting someone talk. It's actually listening to them, processing what they have to say, and then responding with your own, I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but having a conversation. This session, I probably met with literally dozens of groups and people that were, not just against, but like vehemently, angrily against different bills or policies. And I sat down. I mean, I never avoided them. I sat down with them, listened to them, took notes, explained to them what I liked about what they were saying, what I disagreed with what they were saying, what I believed, what I was going to try and do. The reality is this: you're never going to find a position or a candidate that you agree 100% with. You got to figure out what matters most, why it matters most. I mean, it goes back to education. When I met Emily and started doing homework with her, and realized that she wasn't being taught how to think. It was just,
Emily's your daughter.
My oldest daughter.
Yeah. People might not have known that. Go ahead.
And I told her, says, baby, I don't care if you, I do care if you get it wrong, but I don't care if you get it wrong. The only thing I won't tolerate is just because. At least explain to me. I might disagree with your reasoning. I might disagree with why you're coming to the conclusion. But, I think people more and more aren't able to actually explain and defend why. I don't think they even know why they really believe it.
Right.
It's just, it's bad because.
Right.
And if that's,
I call it tribalism. I'm just going to disagree with your tribe just because you're in that tribe. I don't care what idea you have. Right? I mean, we've become tribalistic.
Yeah.
I'm back to politics. I'm sorry, but that's what you're describing, I guess.
But it's even more than just my tribe. I think it's just an ideology or belief system as a whole. I mean, it doesn't matter. We could talk about politics. We can talk about religion. We could talk about diet. We could talk about working. I mean, whatever it is, business principles. I mean, it's what I think is right. Well, why? Just because.
Yeah, I can't stand that argument. You got to back it up with some facts, with some data.
Because you can't have a conversation if the answer is just because, and there's no, rhetoric, there's no debate, there's no conversation going back and forth, no reasoning. We stop thinking. I read one last thing I'll say.
No, say it.
I wish I could find the article, but supposedly, I think it's 70% of the population doesn't have an internal monologue. Like when you think, I don't know if you think in your head, you hear a voice, what language the voice, so on and so forth. And their theory was that, kind of like going back to politics, when Biden is perfect, he's perfectly cognizant. Then they come out and say, oh, he's not cognizant. And the narrative changed overnight. And not a single person in the party, even batted an eye or even question it, because it was just, oh, what's right before me? There's no thinking, there's no contemplating, there's no anything. I mean, it's kind of a scary concept.
Yeah, well, we on the show, and this, Mark, and we try to encourage people to critically think. And the way that I describe it, I think, is what you're referencing with this internal monologue. It's sparring with ideas in your mind. I mean, you as a trial lawyer, me as a trial lawyer, we do that all the time, right? You spar with an idea. Okay, what's the opposing side? For me, whether I was prosecuting or defending, for you defending, you think, how are they going to use this evidence? How is this same testimony or this same report or this video that I saw going to be used by the other side? And how can you persuade a jury to agree with you and vote in your way? But that takes that internal dialogue. That takes that sparring with ideas in your mind. We don't do that. I agree with you. It's just that, and I guess that's what I describe as tribalism. This idea that just because I don't agree, I'm not going to agree with you just because you're on the wrong side or just because you're in the wrong. And I've challenged in my journey my own politics. Politics meaning a set of ideas advocated by a group of people to affect the lives of others. My set of ideas, now my ideas, as you know, and yours are the same way, and George, we happen to agree on this, even though I love talking to people that I disagree with, is my ideas are biblical. I believe that there's an intelligent designer. I believe that intelligent designer is the God of the Bible. I believe that first century Jew is God incarnate. I do. I believe that he rose from the dead and died for our sins, and I believe that there's eternal life after this earth. I believe that. I'm persuaded by that. And so that shapes my worldview. Now, I believe, and I think I've shown this, I can defend that worldview. I mean, it's not just because I said so, and I don't say because the Bible said so. I say why I trust the Bible, and then I refer to the Bible, not just because the Bible says so. But people aren't doing that. They're not. I mean, we criticize things all the time. We criticize each other, but we're not taught to do that, and we're not taught to talk about these things in public. And if we do, we have to be yelling at each other, and we have to hate the other side. And I don't. I'm not afraid to agree with somebody that from a different tribe or a different. I'll agree with what I'm a truth seeker, which happens to be a biblical principle, right? Jesus is truth. He defines it. But I mean, truth matters to me. Truth matters to God. Truth matters. And so wherever truth is, I don't care what tribe, whatever the truth is, and that's it. We don't do that anymore. The truth gets manipulated. So the same set of facts will be argued, and look, it's good lawyering, I guess, right? That's what happens in politics. It's the ultimate lawyering factor. I mean, in manufacturer, because no matter what you do, you can take the same set of facts and turn it into something different. I mean, just with the horses, with the Border Patrol guys on horses, when they were whipping the illegals, so to speak, it's like, oh, I can't believe well, can you pause and this investigate first? No, they were whipping, and that was complete bullshit. That was a bullshit story. And nobody was really held accountable. And the president of the United States at the time took up that narrative because his side said it was that way. And then everybody's like, that's not what happens. If you ride horses, you know what's going on. And then you look at the video, they weren't whipping anybody, by the way. So, but just look at the border situation. Oh, we need new legislation to fix the border problem. We can't do it. Sorry, we have nothing to do. And then literally within 2 weeks of Trump taking office, 90-something% of the border was taken care of. Well, someone was lying. So that was a lie or incompetence. I don't know. You choose, but they both suck, and I don't want either one of them having control over me. So we just have to get away from these labels, in my humble opinion, and talk about ideas. And that's why the idea of an open border was not good, and that's why the Valley voted to support another set of ideas. No, that's not true. I don't believe that bullshit anymore. Because, as I said to the men in the prison ministry at Dominguez, when the pain of staying the same, as we always say, George, exceeds the pain of changing, we change. Pain is a good motivator. And so how much pain has this country, have we gone through enough pain? I hope the answer is yes. Let's see what happens at the midterm. Because why would you put a guy in office with his set of ideas and see what he's done? And I get that there's a different spin on it. And then want to do something, meaning vote the other side in, to stop his set of ideas to come to fruition for the next 2 years.
But the point is, there's no counter set of ideas that are pushing back. The Democrats in Illinois right now are not pushing back with counter ideas. They're pushing back with drama and theater, temper tantrums. There's no ideas. There's no counter policy. There's no debate. And this is because, Republicans, for all their flaws, and we've been plenty critical of Republicans, they're not throwing hissy fits. That's a step in the right direction. They're not shutting down debate just because there's sheer disagreement. And it seems to me now, for the first time, really, in American politics, we have such a huge gap between priorities.
Yes.
I mean, I've not seen politically a gap this wide. I mean, there used to be, Nico talks about his 40-yard analogy of Republicans and Democrats, which is valid.
Well, have you heard that, Mark? You heard that idea? So just don't forget your thoughts so Mark can know what you're talking about. So there was a Republican supporter of mine back when I ran under the platform of Democrat, and it was Republicans for Nico. And he said, Nico, back in the old days, and he was talking about his old days, if you look at a football field, Republicans started on the 40-yard line, and Democrats started on their 40-yard line, and we're really just arguing and fighting for the 20 yards in the middle. It's not like that anymore. Now the Republicans start on their goal line, and Democrats they don't agree on anything. Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
that's right. But there's a shared love for or respect for basic priorities and principles that are American. They're not partisan. They're just American. Everybody values freedom. Everybody values religious conscience, the ability to express my views in a public square without government reprisal. Everybody valued that. Everybody thought it was a good idea to fight for that. We're all on the same page at some level, fundamentally. I'm thinking about the Bill of Rights. There seems to be sort of a shared love for and respect for the Bill of Rights. I don't know. Most people even know what the Bill of Rights is today. So getting back to that, but there's a very different view on the importance of that to the survival of America in the future. In fact, I don't even know if that's even part of the mission statement of the Democrat Party, to be honest with you. And then I just kind of step back and say, what's the way forward? There are big topics we literally can't discuss right now because we don't have that shared glue anymore. We were talking about, border policy, this whole gerrymandering thing. And then we're saying sort of the dark secret here is the secret of this issue that nobody's even talking about is the fact that you have sanctuary cities, sanctuary states that have leveraged whole illegal populations to gain political and financial footing. I mean, we have congressional seats right now that are determined by everybody in a particular state, whether they're legal or not. Yeah. And the Democrats have created a boatload of seats because of that head count. These people are illegal. And so I'm glad there's deportations. There should be deportations. But ultimately, that's not the answer. Deportations aren't the answer. Assimilation is the answer. And you've got a party who doesn't give a shit about that. And they're actually building political power based on illegality. So my point is, it's not about a shared American ethos anymore. It's about power. And so when it's about power, then you got to crush your opponent. So the idea of debate when you're pursuing power, those things don't mesh. So I don't know how
you're not trying to win. You're not trying to win a debate. You're trying to control your opponent. Yes. That's the distinction.
Coercion and control. And how do we come back from that, though?
What do you think, Mark? Someone who's in the system here in Texas. I mean, it doesn't seem as contentious here, is it? Is it? Are there people that just?
No, I don't think. I mean, in the state house.
Your colleagues, with your
no, I don't
Democrat
think.
colleagues.
I mean, people disagree on a lot of different things, but no, I mean, I guess I can't truly compare it to the federal side because I've never actually been in the inner workings of it or even visited the inner workings of it to really know. Because I've heard stories. It's kind of the same thing in the sense that, they'll go on TV and attack each other, and then they'll go to dinner together,
right?
Off camera. So I can't say. All I can say is that largely in the state house, members are cordial. They get along. They're friends. I mean, even people in I've said it before. The Republican caucus has 3 or 4 different factions. The Democrat caucus has 3 or 4 different factions. And so those factions don't always get along or agree from time to time.
Within their own party.
Yeah.
Got it.
But no, I mean, largely, I think it works pretty well. Seems to, at least.
Mm. And so, where does it go from here on the session? Since we're talking about back on that topic, what do you do? So you guys are gonna time out in 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, from what I've heard, I haven't looked up to verify. From what I heard is that if quorum is not made this upcoming week, the earliest that we can call sine die, the last day of session would be next Friday. And then I would imagine the governor would call a special Saturday, the following day.
So, but if you're saying you just need 3 more Democrats, and it sounds like they're trickling in, I bet. I mean, it sounds like you guys are close to,
I'm optimistic, but I think Monday we'll really know where we're really at. But optimistically, I hope so.
Are there any Democrats here in Texas that are speaking out against what they're doing? Hey guys, are they just saying, I'm not going to publicly do it, but privately get your ass to work?
I don't know. One of my biggest criticisms is that I don't do social media. I don't do Facebook and Twitter and all that. So I don't really know because I haven't monitored it. But I haven't heard it, passively or colloquially.
You need to. Any volunteers that want to volunteer for Mark's campaign to do social media and Twitter, because you have to these days. We got to get this guy reelected. I mean, I think Mark, I say this, biased because you're my brother, but unbiased in my assessment. I think you're the standard bearer. I really do. I say that. I mean that sincerely. You should be the standard bearer of a public servant, someone who's not afraid. I mean, and we'll talk about this on the next, maybe on another show when you're done with special session and all this craziness is over. I mean, for you to have gotten sideways with some of your party leadership, I mean, the highest level here in Texas, not that you were looking to get sideways with them, it just kind of was a consequence to you standing up for what you felt was right based off the principles that everybody sent you there to espouse. I mean, it says a lot about you because I know you shared, and I won't share those stories you shared with me about other people that folded like cheap suits, but you didn't. And you know, you're open to being wrong. You're open to being corrected. You're open to learn from anybody, from either side. You'll talk to anybody, and that's kind of like the Bill Maher model. Like, hey, even if I disagree with you, I want to, because maybe there is. I always, you know, you and I talk about this. I go into every conversation thinking there may be something I can learn, and there is something I can learn. Will I learn it from this person? I don't know, but I know there's things I can learn, and that always.
And there's good ideas you don't think about,
huh?
And there's good ideas that you don't think about.
Yeah, maybe to better implement your idea, right?
I mean, same logic. Why I guess I didn't kill, but you know, I killed 7 of my own bills, meaning that.
Explain that, because you told me that. How you laugh when you say that. Say what you mean.
You know, you have your idea. You send it to Leg Council to have it drafted. And you
Legislative Council, right?
Yeah. Yes, and then you know, I get the bill back. So, in general, how I operate is, I personally believe it. You know, we always think our ideas are the best, and we're in love with our own ideas. And so, when I get a bill back, or I see a bill that someone else drafted, I'll read it. You have your first I have my first impression or my first emotional. You know, it's a great idea, it's a bad idea, X, Y, and Z, and then I'll set it aside for a day or two and kind of let that emotional side subside, and then try to analyze it objectively and see, you know, is this consistent with the Constitution? Is it consistent with the principles? Are we creating a caveat that's going to create problems
down the road,
unintended consequences in the future? But I have been convinced, you know, in transportation there was 2 bills
that you submitted.
No, that someone's, you know, that we heard in committee, and so I read the bills beforehand, and I walked into those hearings feeling pretty strongly that I was against them, but listened to the testimony, asked questions, and by the end of it, I was one of the strongest supporters of both those bills.
Is that typical? Do people normally change their opinion in committee?
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to somebody else. I just know that I did on those 2. But it goes back to what you were saying, which is...
But you said you killed 7 of your own.
Meaning that once I got them back and I read them, I thought they were an overreach of government. Or it was creating an exception that I didn't think was constitutional. I mean, I still think it's a great idea, in theory at least, and keep working on trying to figure out how to implement them the right way versus just trying to get them implemented.
Got it. So then a bill that you submitted to Legislative Council, it came back, and you're like, I don't like my own deal.
So I didn't urge for it to get heard. You know, when you get them back, they're filed, but I didn't urge for them to be heard in committee. I didn't push them. I let them die because they just weren't.
They violated a principle.
Yeah,
or they didn't support something.
They weren't right.
Got it. Well, that's good. That's humility. That's very rare. That's my point. That's what I say. That's my point. I mean, you have these, and then you have, here's what I tell people, and I've said this to Mark, and I've said this to anybody that runs for office. If you're not prepared to be a one-termer, then don't run for office, because then someone will always control you. If you're not prepared to go over there and actually do what you promised these people that said, yes, we'll send you in there to do, then don't run. I mean, so you can criticize Trump all you want, but there's nothing that he's done that he didn't say he was going to do other than the Epstein file. That's for you, Salo. But aside from that, I mean, there's really nothing he said that he hasn't done. So, I mean, there's no shock. I haven't been shocked by anything Trump has done. You shouldn't be shocked unless the person you send up there, unless someone goes up there and says, man, this is nothing what I thought it was. And you haven't been completely shocked about that, right?
No.
You were in an office before, but you knew there was people up there that were less than honorable, or that they were weak, and there's people that are nice but are weak, or whatever it is. And there's a game, and it's all relationships, and what are you doing for me? And if you don't do this for me, I won't do this for you. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And it's a bunch of that type of negotiating stuff, right? But I think it's interesting for people to hear you say that you enjoy it more than practicing law, because it's like practicing law on steroids, right? Because you're advocating for your client. Your client are the people in District 121, all of them, and then ultimately the citizens of Texas, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's really cool.
What else? Karen's not here. You want? Because I don't think we should talk about vaccines yet. I
now
mean,
you have no limits on your
The
time.
RFK. Yeah, I was going to.
You want limits?
No, I said there's no limits on your time.
Oh yeah, now you can say.
I'm not here to tell you.
Yeah, that's true, right?
You got
Karen's not here to
freedom.
cut you off. What do you want to talk about?
No, the RFK. We're going to talk
You
about.
want to talk about an hour? Or you want to do it on the radio?
I think we should probably talk about it on the radio. I agree with you, but it is an important topic, man. That's a big deal. Big
Just
deal.
say what it is, and we'll
Well, he
dissect it
canceled
next
Give a
week.
teaser.
He
Yeah,
canceled.
tease people.
We should probably talk. But it is an important topic, man. That's a big deal. Big
Just
deal.
say
It's a
what it
huge
is,
shift.
and we'll
Biomedical Advanced Research Development Authority.
Okay.
HHS. And BARDA, excuse me. And they are responsible for overseeing at least $500 million worth of research programs and proposals with biotech companies and research laboratories, et cetera, and for mRNA vaccines. And Kennedy came out and said that all of those have been canceled to the tune of around $22 million per contract. So that's about $500 million. And here's what he stated. He said, quote, "We reviewed the science, listened to the experts, and acted. The data show that these vaccines," this is specifically mRNA-based quote-unquote vaccines. I personally don't think clinically that they're vaccines. They're more gene therapy rather than vaccine vehicles. But he said, the data show that these vaccines fail to protect effectively against upper respiratory infections like COVID and flu. We're shifting that funding towards safer, broader vaccine platforms that remain effective, even as viruses mutate. That is a loaded statement. There's a lot in there. This idea of a broader vaccine platforms. This isn't the typical vaccines that we think about. A lot of the vaccines that we take are taken to address a particular viral strain. A broader vaccine platform is almost like a universal vaccine that is meant to be collective of a number of strains for various types of viruses. That's what they're working on, but using traditional technology rather than mRNA-based technology. This has been a hard topic for me, Mark, because before COVID, I was a huge fan of mRNA technology. Just not for that shit, because the concept is absolutely brilliant. I think it's phenomenal. If we can ever get the quirks out of it, I think it is incredibly powerful. The concept is phenomenal, but it was rushed, and there were a lot of shortcuts that were taken. And unfortunately, and I don't know if it's every week, but it's at least every 2 weeks, there's a major peer-reviewed piece that comes out highlighting statistically significant reports tying causatively, anyway, mRNA COVID-19 vaccination to serious disease, from blood clotting to autoimmune diseases to various cardiovascular disease and a bunch of neurodegenerative problems. And reputable organizations, university laboratories, the Cleveland Clinic, for instance, just last week. This is alarming. And getting back to the point that you made on the other topic, it's the same issue. There just seems to be kind of a silo mentality. This is science, for goodness sakes. We got to be able to talk about this shit. I mean, you disagree, fine, but I used to, when I was at Merck.
The point of peer review is to have other people
that's exactly
review it, question it.
And I used
critique
to say,
it.
I had a banner in my office that said, "In God we trust, all others bring data." And people would come in, and I love roundtable discussions about data. Because at the end of the day, my team was responsible for distributing clinical supplies across the world. But before we did that, we didn't just, these were scientists and business professionals, and it was a roundtable. We talked about protocols and clinical opinions and so forth. It was a vibrant debate. I remember people highlighted, look, I know that this is what the powers that be have decided. Fine, it's their company, but I disagree. And I'm like, whoa, disagree with what? Well, I don't think this is going to be safe. I don't think this cohort's going to be in a good situation. Well, that's a big deal for you to disagree. Unless you're a moron, I'm going to listen to what you have to say. And I got to tell you, man, a lot of times we were able to change the direction just because somebody had the balls to speak up and brought up something really important that could have killed people, for goodness sakes. So I love that Kennedy is at least trying to create an environment where people can have this conversation, because before now we haven't been even able to have this conversation. So I'm worried about it. I'm worried that while this is a step in the right direction, I hope it's enough. Because remember, It was billions that were invested. We're talking about $500 million in cancellation of contracts. But between Pfizer and Moderna, we're talking about multiple billions of dollars.
And trillions of revenue.
Yeah. So I don't know if this will be enough, but this is certainly a step in the right direction.
Baby steps.
But the amount of disease is over the top. Nico talks about the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System that the CDC has had in place since 1986. People should understand that 97% of all reports of adverse events in VAERS, 97% of that have been reported in the last 3 years.
Let that sink in.
And it's related to COVID.
Let that sink in. Yeah.
Next year's going to be 40 years, and for 97% of all adverse events to be tied to COVID.
And it's only 1% reported, by the way.
Come on.
So it's a self-reporting system. So Carlos, Austin Danger, Karen's usually here to look at comments. I'm not sure what he was referring to. Okay, that's still not a reason to reelect him. I don't know what the reason is, because he's honest, because he's not afraid to agree with people or disagree with people. What has he done besides saying we need to spend more money on education that hasn't worked? So what do you mean, what has he done? I guess you can say what you've done, Mark. What you've done. I guarantee you right now, I'll tell you one thing, Carlos. I don't know if you've ever been in a car accident, but Mark actually saved. Forget about PI lawyers for a second. I'm not a PI lawyer. Mark does some, but doesn't do a lot of it. We're criminal defense lawyers. Mark does some family law and stuff like that and some civil work. But forget about PI lawyers per se. But the clients, Mark himself, and took a lot of heat from Republicans and from the, TLR, Texas for lawsuit reform and all that crap, to stop a bill that would have been terrible for the citizens of Texas, because and insurance companies would have won again, and citizens would have lost, and injured people, and there's so much more to this. This could be an whole show itself. All the crap you went through and the pressure you took, because you were the deciding vote, right, on that bill.
I was, but I guess my first, if you can respond,
you're responding now. You can
well, I guess my first question would be,
on a regular basis.
For this conversation would be, well, what matters to you? People are going to vote for re-election or vote to re-elect somebody if someone is advocating for their whys that matter most to them. Like going back to when I was block walking, Democrats, Independents, Republicans, I would ask them, what are your 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. Everyone has their own number, but what are your biggest whys of what matters most to you right now? Because find a candidate, whether it's me or somebody else, one of my opponents, that is going to advocate and champion for those whys. And even if it's me, in 2 years, your whys might change, and then you might be advocating or campaigning against me. That's how it should work, I think. There's the people. It comes back to what we were talking about before, the change. We have given up freedom. Like, our biggest issue is, as a people as a whole, and not even political party, that we have given up freedom, whether it's taxation or it's medical freedom or it's the right to do what we do. And so, but I wish he was here or responding with another thing is, what are your whys? Because maybe I'm advocating for your whys, maybe I'm not. Regardless, I'll tell you where I'm at on them.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you, for me, Mark, Republicans can piss me off, conservatives piss me off also, because it's like this 100% standard. If you don't do everything that I want you to do, then I don't support. Well, that's just stupid. There's bad and better, and there's good and greater and great, and then there's all kinds of standards. And so, like, I'm sure the Democrats have it on their side too. The good thing I like about our side, to Alamo Talk's point, because he was criticizing somebody else. I guess Carlos just typically leans conservative, I guess, from what I've seen his comments in the past. But he's entitled to disagree. He's entitled to push back. He's entitled to. Oh, so am I. But bring the receipts, as they say. And on the Democrat side, Alamo Talk. If it's true what Representative Briscoe says, that people are whispering, so nobody has any fucking balls on your side. Nobody has balls to disagree. You can't say anything because then you're going to get primaried. Well, then get primaried. Then what are you up there for? If you're running to be a puppet, then be a puppet. And if that's what you're saying, that Democrats are Republicans. So when Governor Abbott, now I'm going to get defense. I'm going to be a little defense lawyer now. But when Governor Abbott supported you, he wasn't supporting a puppet. Whoever was supporting you, you're a free thinker. And at least you're open-minded to it. And I love your answer about the whys, because that really is what it is. Well, why? I want more power. Well, then you're going to do anything you want, and this is the criticism George has of the Democrat Party. And they both want power. I get it. But what are you going to do with that power? It's about stewardship to me. I want power too. But what am I going to do and steward that power? Are you going to steward it well? What are you doing with that power? And do you really believe what I can't stand? These fake sons of bitches behind pulpits and behind podiums. There's a bunch of fake pastors and fake Christian groups and fake all these bullshitters. And then there's a bunch of fake politicians. Just be whatever you want. That's why I've always liked Bill Maher, because you get the sense that he is what he is. I mean, he'll disagree with his side. He'll disagree with ours. I mean, I don't like his logic a lot of times, and I love to debate him on stuff. But he's not afraid to disagree, and he's not afraid to have opposing opinions. And his standard is, if I disagree with you, I don't have to hate you. He's not a Colbert, that dumb fuck. I mean, I'm glad he's off the air, even though I don't wish for that stuff. But I'm glad, because I can't stand people that won't welcome the opposing side. And so I'm not sure what Carlos is mentioning. Hey, brother, do it. You can do whatever you want. Articulate your points. Alan will talk. I'm glad that there's disagreement on the Republican side, because that's how you make ideas better. When Republicans or conservatives or anybody can push back. I'm not afraid to support or I haven't had a reason to support on the state level a Democrat, but to support a Democrat idea if it's a good idea. Let the idea prevail. I'm going to go back to my always example. Sorry, George, I'm on my roll. Is Clinton? Is Clinton in '95 when Bill Clinton said that illegal immigration is the greatest threat to this country? Well, that was an idea. Was it a Democrat idea? I guess it was at the time, but it's still an idea that holds true today, and we saw the effects of it. And so I support Bill Clinton in '95 on that idea.
I just do one thing.
What?
It wasn't a Democrat idea. It was just a good idea.
I know. I'm making my. You're right, Mark. That's my point. I'm making my point. Was it? I don't know. I'm just saying it was an idea advocated by a Democrat. But give me the National Democrat.
That goes back to the football analogy. That 40 years ago, I don't think it was the 40-yard line. I think we were at the 45-yard line. 48-yard line. I mean, because 40 years ago, we all agreed collectively that God existed. This was a Christian nation. That our military was not just necessary but honorable. Our law enforcement, our first responders are heroes. We agreed on
gender. There was two genders.
We agreed on all of that.
Yeah.
We disagreed on maybe entitlements or Social Security, or maybe how much we spent on defense, or
right.
We disagreed on some of these other things, but we lost that. I mean, that's why. I mean, shoot.
You can say
even
after show.
What's her name? Hillary Clinton, when she ran for president, said that illegal immigration was a threat. And then 3 years later, now she's championing, opening borders and everything else. I mean, It's just, that's how quickly it has fallen off the cliff.
I think it goes to George's point, your conversation earlier, is what is the ethos of this country again? I mean, is it one nation under God? Is it nuclear family stuff? Is it entrepreneurial spirit? Is it free speech and free thought? Are we going to go to these other countries that you can't even think something, you can't share an opinion? I love that people will make comments. That's why I love when Mark, Antoine, and Alan will talk, and I don't like when people call them names. I don't like the name calling. That's not a good argument technique. When you say, "Oh, you're stupid ass," or "You're this," or whatever. I mean, if you're describing someone's behavior, that's fine. But we can all be passionate. We can use language in the advocacy. But when you talk to someone's character or their value just because you disagree with an idea, I just don't think that's effective. Because I want to win, and I want to win. The way I win is our country is safe. People are thriving. People are safe. People have freedoms, even freedom to disagree with me, freedom to express those thoughts, freedom to live a life that you think is best for you as long as it doesn't interfere with someone else's life. I mean, obviously, freedom can, you know what I mean? So that can be bastardized. I mean, those are the ideas. I believe in the principles and the ideas of this country we're founded on. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And happiness, not selfish happiness. Property ownership, education, freedom to worship, freedom to speak, freedom to think, freedom to collectively gather with somebody, freedom to air your grievances against your government appropriately, not riot. That's like the new protest now, is rioting and violence, which is bullshit. You can't run a country that way. So go ahead. You've heard too much from the La Hoods. Go ahead, Arujo. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, when the Constitution became a thing, it took a while before it was ratified because there was debate that actually it didn't go far enough. This is the whole basis for the Federalist Papers. It was really sort of an apologetic, a polemic for the Constitution because many were not convinced that it went far enough on the rights of man, on the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights actually came out of that debate, interestingly enough. So debate's a good thing. It hadn't been for it, we'd be actually fucked. So thank goodness for debate. But a lot of people in the country don't even know about the Bill of Rights, the very Bill of Rights that protect them and their families, from goodness sakes. So if you read the Bill of Rights, there's a lot of emphasis on the rights of man, the inherent rights of man. And then the other additional 17 amendments talk about rights that flow from those rights.
Yeah.
And so, man, this is a treasure. It's a treasure. It's a jewel. And you said, what's our ethos? You got to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
We got to teach it. We don't teach it anymore. 40 years ago, we were teaching it. I know that because I was learning it. And it wasn't higher education. I was just learning it.
Well, not just teach it, but value it. I mean, because you could know it there, but if you don't value that freedom, if you don't value that, if that's not one of your priorities, then
I love that. And debate is an offshoot of that value system.
Without a doubt, because the only people that don't disagree are sheep, are cult members.
Yes, and it is. People say, "Well, okay, it's just discourse." It's a matter. I think it's a matter of life and death. This whole illegal immigration thing is so critical. I never forgot it. I say it over and over again. When Nico said a couple of years ago, not even that, maybe last year, because we were getting ready for the election. He says, this is the closest I've ever been to being a one-issue voter, because it seems so foundational, because the integrity of the nation was at issue, the sovereignty of the nation. So Carl has just mentioned about education was part of your platform. It was a big deal. And I used to say, Nico, can you think of one politician that actually had made education a big deal in their platform? At that time, the answer was no. And then you came along.
Well,
So I remember that. I couldn't think of one major politician. It's the context what I said. And even now, can you think of one person, one major politician at the federal level that has made education front and center of their platform? I still can't.
I think Trump did.
Well, I'm with you. I'm talking about a representative.
Well, what I'm saying, though, but I wasn't the first. I mean, I'm assuming what Carl's referring to is school choice.
Yeah.
But, I wasn't the first. I mean, obviously, I challenged Steve Allison. One of the reasons why I challenged him, probably the biggest reason why I got in the race was I believe in school choice. But education goes back to Emily, goes back to, heck with politics or campaigning, all that. I mean, education is a crux. I don't mean a degree. I mean, being able to actually think, reason, basic arithmetic. Our children today are not just workers of tomorrow. They're not just our voters of tomorrow. They are the people that are going to take care of us. They are the future stewards. I mean, it is fundamental that our children learn to reason, think, and be independent, even if we disagree with each other. Because if we have sheep, what kinds of institution want sheep? Dictatorships?
Well, to your point, Mark, Albert Einstein said, and I know we got to wrap up. We're already at 40 minutes over, and so let's start winding down. But education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Albert Einstein, right? Let that sink in. Education is not the learning of facts. Someone with a photographic memory. So when we talk about wisdom, George and I teach on wisdom, and we teach out of Proverbs, of course, a book of wisdom. James is a book of wisdom in the New Testament. But wisdom wisdom is not knowledge. Wisdom is knowledge plus understanding. And then if you have understanding, you can actually implement and use that knowledge that you have. So I agree with the statement so much. Education is not the learning of facts. You can have a photographic memory, but still not do anything with it. But the training of the mind to think, that's true education. Can you think? If you're a good thinker, you're going to be a good leader. Now, you have to be able to express your thoughts well, but you have to think through problems. That's what I tell people. I want our kids to be dangerous with their faith, dangerous with their mind, because they can critically think, and then, of course, dangerous with their hands so they can defend themselves, God forbid. But you got to be able to think. The mind is a tool of worship, and it's a tool of reality.
The most powerful tool.
So and we can keep going on. We're going to cut it short. Mark, thanks for being in here this week. I know you're
thank
busy.
you. I love it.
We'll have you back because I really want you to talk about the session, and then you can we'll take questions, we'll take whatever, and then I'm happy to go with you. I can't wait for you to start those town hall meetings. I think they're going to be good and effective, and people can hear from you, and you can hear from them. And but you're doing your job and you have session to handle. I hope this thing resolves. I hope that Democrats come back. I want agreement. I don't think we should be afraid to agree with each other. Because in the end, it should be about the state of Texas. It should be what's best for all Texans. Period. End of story. And when it comes to a federal level, what's best for the United States of America. And it seems like the only time that we get there is under war and attack. And I don't want us to be like an October 7th with Israel or a September 11th with us when nobody cared about Democrat, Republican. We were Americans dealing with an attack on our country and a threat to our true way of life. So let's pray for our country, try to get along with people, share ideas, but don't do it in a way that I think is productive and meaningful. Thanks for your service, Mark. Thank you guys for watching us. Share this with people you think may benefit from it. I know you can share. I don't know how to do it, but people can share it or recommend people to look at it. And have a wonderful, blessed weekend. And again, pray for our students. We have a new school year. My wife and I always pray, and our church always prays over the kids for the beginning of the year. We should do that and support them. I'm not going to like the traffic. Traffic sucks, but it is what it is. It's the way it goes.
And
Before
for the families
you know,
that lost their children this school year.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Thank you, Mark. That's true. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.